So Immanuel Kant was born April 22nd, 1724 in Prussia, today known as Russia. He died February 2nd, he died February 12th, 1804, and is still known as one of the most influential philosophers all over the world. People still study him. He was a German philosopher, and he came up with idealism. Idealism can be described as any various systems of thought in which the objects of knowledge are held to be in some way dependent on the activity of the mind. I pulled that exact definition from dictionary.com, and I got all the above information from Britannica.com. It's a biography site, and Immanuel Kant has his own page dedicated to him. So basically, through his life, he created a new development. Immanuel Kant argued that the supreme principle of morality is a standard of rationality that he named the categorical imperative, which is important in all his arguments and reasonings. Kant characterized the categorical imperative as to be objective, rationally necessary, and unconditional principle we must always follow, despite any natural desires that we may have contrary to what the categorical imperative is. We need to stick to it, basically. All specific moral requirements, according to Kant, are justified by this principle, which means if you go against the categorical imperative, your decision was basically unethical, according to Kant. This information came from platos.stanford.edu. It was on a Kant moral page. So going into what he actually argues and believes, some believe that the motivation of our actions is merely the seeking of pleasure and the avoidance of pain, misery, all those feelings under that umbrella. What Kant says against this belief, he argues that if pleasure were the only thing that motivated our actions, then we would only have Now, for the modern day media ethics issue, the first one that came to mind is the Trump impeachment inquiries that are going on right now, have been public for the past week or so. All the major news stations are covering them, live updates. I pulled a current article from the Washington Post. I feel like they produce good non-objective articles the majority of the time. And it was titled, "Defense Official Testifies That Ukrainians Asked About the Status of Security Assistance on the Same Day as Trump's phone call with the Ukrainian president." Overall, Kant would argue that Trump's inquiry for impeachment should go through because, for Kant's theory, the categorical imperative as the president is to fill your duty for all the people of the United States, not for yourself, not for your personal interest. And Trump blatantly asked on the phone call, "Will you dig up dirt on Joe Biden and I will release the aid?" Basically, I need something from you. I'm going to give you something. I'm looking out for my benefit instead of the overall population, which Kant would overall argue that's unethical, which would mean the impeachment should go through. Because as a president, you need to have good ethical values and morals. And obviously, if this has gotten to a trial and an inquiry and multiple levels of status people dealing with this, he did something wrong. And Kant would argue that Trump did not fill his duty. So he deserves this impeachment inquiry going on right now. That current event, I got WashingtonPost.com/politics/impeachment hearings live updates 2019. As I was scrolling through trying to find current event articles, of course, the majority of them are about President Trump, which I like focusing on because I feel like that's what's important right now with the election coming up and the impeachment. And I found one that made me laugh because it's Fox News, and Fox News is completely Republican, always seems to support Trump in one way or another. And here's the headline of this. Andy McCarthy, a reporter for Fox News, said there's a flaw in Schiff's theory of bribery by Trump during the impeachment hearings. So, basically, Adam Schiff's theory Adam Schiff is House Intelligence Committee chairman, and he claimed that President Trump committed an impeachable act of bribery, but according to Andrew McCarthy, it has a flaw. So all this controversy going on back and forth in the news and Fox being so objective, Kant would feel it was unethical for Fox to be only supporting one way, or, for example, CNN to be supporting the other way. Everyone needs to have an objective umbrella to benefit the greatest amount of people, so everyone gets a fair understanding of the news and can interpret it how they want and feel how they want. They're getting fed things that people have already felt and digested and regurgitated back through the news, and then they're making opinions on other people's opinions instead of straight news. And Kant would feel that was unethical because overall it doesn't follow the categorical imperative of being a journalist and reporting the news. Our job is to tell stories, but tell stories that are verifiable, authentic, and honest. So I got this from Fox News Network, and I just found it funny how, of course, this one headline was for Trump, and that's who it was. Lastly, for my current event that would relate back to a modern day media ethics issue and how Kant would feel about it, I picked to go away from the impeachment inquiry and focus on the recent Prince Andrew interview that was released on the news. And in the interview, he talked about his ties to Epstein, the guy that killed himself in jail. A lot of conspiracy theories circling that. But basically, in the interview by BBC News, Prince Andrew says, I didn't know he was involved in sex trafficking girls or having sex with younger women, yet the reporter went on to ask him, this girl has claimed that you had sex with her when she was 15 and you bought her drinks and spent time with her. And he kind of talked in circles, and it was also mentioned that he needed approval from the Queen. And a lot of people were against this interview. They thought he should stay quiet. Overall, I think Kant would think Prince Andrew did the right thing by saying something, because overall it did affect the greater good. People got to see the person he really is, and you are who you hang around with. If that's the company he's keeping around, he probably isn't too far off base. So I found an article on cbsnews.com. The title is Prince Andrew Faces Backlash Over Interview on Epstein as Organizations Cut Ties. So I think Kant will believe, with the controversy going on, Prince Andrew did the right thing for his categorical imperative. That sums up the presentation of Immanuel Kant and his schools of thought and his amazing philosophy. Thank you so much for listening, and have a good night.